Shishimana's divine grace, founder of ISKCON, Abhay Charanadananda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda ki, Grantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Kunja Vihari ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev, Mai Subhadra ki, Shri Nathaji, Shri Balagopal ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Nitai Go Premanand. All goodies to the assembly. All goodies to the assembly. All goodies to the assembly. All goodies to the Lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadhiraya Nasta prayashu padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatirtima Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely. Text 27, 28. Okay. Text 28. 27, I'm long. Yeah, okay, text 28. Sutta Uvacha Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Saroruham Krishna Pada Saroruham Sahardhanatigadena Sahardhanatigadena Santasit Vimala Mati Santasit Vimala Mati Sutavacha Sutavacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Saroruham Krishna Pada Saroruham Sahardhanatigadena Sahardhanatigadena Santasid Vimalamati Santasid Vimalamati. Please chant. Sutavacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Saroruham Sahardhanatigadena Santasid Vimalamati. Sutavacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Saroruham Sahardhanatigadena Santasid Vimalamati. Sutavacha Sutta Goswami said, Evam, thus, Chintayata, while thinking of instruction, Jishno, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Pada, the feet of Krishna, Saroruham, resembling lotuses, Sahardena, by deep friendship, Atigadena, in great intimacy, Santa, pacified, Asit, it so became, Vimala, without any tinge of material contamination, Mati, mind. Sutavacha evam chintayato jishno Krishna Pada Saroruham Sarardhanatigadena Santasid Vimalamati. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Arjuna Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. Sutta Goswami said, Thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Please repeat. Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instruction of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Purport. Since the Lord is absolute, deep meditation upon him is as good as yogic trance. The Lord is non-different from his name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and specific actions. Arjuna began to think of the Lord's instructions to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only those instructions began to eliminate the tinges of material contamination in the mind of Arjuna. The Lord is like the sun. The sun's appearance means immediate dissipation of darkness or ignorance, and the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee can at once drive away all the miserable material effects. Lord Chaitanya has therefore recommended constant chanting of the name of the Lord for protection from all contamination of the material world. The feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotee, but because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. Feelings of separation are also sources of transcendental bliss, and they are never comparable to contaminated material feelings of separation. Om Jnana-timirandasya Granjana Shalakaya Chakshushu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Every single one of these transcendental verses in Bhagavatam just reveal the nature of Krishna's personality, and that being a friend with Arjuna. Now, Arjuna was revealed by Krishna as to who he was. And even though he revealed that supremely powerful, I shouldn't say all-powerful, because Krishna's form, ultimately he has his original form in the spiritual world. But that universal form revealed to Arjuna put Arjuna into the mood of awe and reverence. So normally, this feeling of awe and reverence and friendship don't exactly mix together very well. Mm-hmm. And nevertheless, in the friendship that they had developed together, Krishna found it his pleasure to reveal to Arjuna this most magnanimous form. And then after revealing that, by request then, Arjuna is calling upon that friendship again of Krishna's personality to please. I've had enough, I can't take it anymore, practically. Because he was seeing all the armies being swallowed up into Krishna's mouths of fire, and realizing how powerful a person Krishna was. He's standing right next to possibly also thinking of all the offenses he's committed, thinking of him as an ordinary soul like himself. But Krishna brought him to this realization of awe and reverence after they had already had this relationship of friendship. And see, friendship with Krishna is actually on a higher level than that level of friendship or that level of relationship based on awe and reverence, which is experienced by those even in the Vaikuntha realms. So those relationships based on friendship are those experienced by those living entities who are beyond the Vaikuntha realms and in the eternal realm with Krishna, which is what uniquely Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, through the Parampara system and by Lord Chaitanya's instructions to us, the chanting of these holy names is what will bring us there. We have the opportunity to go anywhere in the universe, actually, when you think about it, because Krishna's engaging us in an activity that brings us to the highest realms, beyond this physical universe, beyond the touches of karma, beyond that which is even experienced in awe and reverence, to the very closest, most intimate relationships possible with the Supreme Person, for him to cover over those living entities of who he is, to have a relationship with them by the relationship they've chosen to develop with him. So if we have that desire to be eternally a friend with Krishna, removed from the fear and awe and reverence, then Krishna is giving us the means to do that. Jai Shri Radha Jai Jai. See all these most elevated positions in the universe that are being glorified as the most highest place for a human being to attain to. It is being revealed to us in these scriptures that they are themselves contained within this universe. And so Krishna is giving us now, even though this is the most fallen age, he's given us the most intimate, dearmost knowledge of his very personal home. You know, you meet someone out on the street. It takes a while to develop a friendship with them before you feel comfortable inviting them into your home, right? You don't know if they're a crook or a thief or what. Maybe you met them in a restaurant or whatever, met them out in the store or somewhere. Through conversation and then mutually finding that you will both have something to offer each other in knowledge, in friendship, in association. But it takes time to do that. But just think about that now. God, Krishna, the supreme dwelling of all that ever was, that ever will be, is that the Supreme Person himself, who lives in and dwells in and has eternally, is inviting us to join with him, be part of his family, be part of the people that love him with all of their hearts, beyond everything else. The person who he is, that we hear about here in this material world, that should bring to us an enlightening realization because of the fact that he is giving us, the most fallen. We, the most fallen, are those who are taking birth at this particular age, the Kali Yuga. Because it is in this fallen age that those souls, for the most part, have wanted to use their ability to manipulate the material energy for the satisfaction of their own senses. And that's the nature of most of the souls being born in the world, the nature of most societies set up for the advancement of human beings. Most civilizations developing their mode of laws and rules governing the way by which people can prosper in the world. But at the same time, making these believed to be highly elevated 5-year plans into the future. I'm going to build this big kingdom for myself here and want to be known, my name, so my name will be spread all over the world. I become very famous for all the great works I've done. This is all false ego. And yet, in the hearts and minds of so many people, looking to find what profession they want to become involved with, lies this deep-rooted desire. Doesn't matter what the profession is. It's the false ego that we are being fed by our parents, by our society, by the industrial civilization we've built up, all putting into our minds the belief that our accumulation of these things in this world, offering us certain abilities, are in effect our rights, our freedoms, what we are deserving of. Again, false ego. We immediately are born into an indebted situation. It is by the activities of 33 million demigods that this earth is here, that the environmental circumstances that exist are here, that fire is here, that the sun is here. All these necessities for life itself to exist have been brought into existence by superior beings than ourselves. And yet we are taught to believe that the world owes us something. And then we go about developing life to create the illusion in our minds that people owe us because of what we've done. This is incorporated into every form of work, what's called work, and jobs in the material world. And here is what is being missed in that. Because what is done out of love. Now, let's say a person becomes wealthy enough in this world to not have to do any work for anyone. What will they do? Under most circumstances, they find a way to just have fun, all right? Do what they think is going to provide for them the most happiness there is. In the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we see by every incarnation Kṛṣṇa has taken on the planet, that he has done that with the benefit of others in mind. He comes to annihilate the demons so that those who are interested in developing that consciousness necessary to return to that home of the Supreme Person, then every single incarnation is doing that. And we see that in Kṛṣṇa's acts. He's coming here for the sake of his devotees. So now, we should be doing everything we can to take those acts Kṛṣṇa has done. Can you imagine how much energy, if you take all the pastimes of the Supreme Person for all the record of history that the Vedas contain, Brahma, Lord Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Lord Ram, Lord Chaitanya, all these incarnations of Kṛṣṇa, put that energy together. See, that's the energy Kṛṣṇa is instilling in this Maha Mantra now. We look back even at the pastimes of Lord Ram. What was the general consensus of the entire planet at the time to be the reward for human beings at the end of a pious life? And this was when Lord Ram was on the planet. Heavenly. Heaven, isn't it? Heavenly planets. This was in their mind, the reward of God to give to those who loved him. That was the extent of knowledge given at that time to those that Ram allowed to take birth at that particular time in history. And he will share pastimes with them in those realms in the universe that they have followed him and gained by following him. So similarly now, in this age, once again, even though it is the most fallen, what we should do with that, see, normally, a person who comes to realize how fallen the age is that we've been born in, they would feel remorseful about that.
Yes.
But we can take pleasure in knowing that even though we are that unworthy, and if we can keep that mentality in mind, the Supreme Lord has, out of his jurisdiction, out of his standard of right and wrong, out of his standard of who is dear to him, has called us to his own personal association. And not only that, but invited us into his innermost dwelling, his secret, most confidential dwelling, which he only reveals to his married wives and his conjugal lovers who have attained to a level of love beyond requiring a contract on paper. That's what this conjugal association is. They love Krishna because they love Krishna. Whether they're going to take a relationship of husband, friend, whatever, they love Krishna, period. And no matter what relationship he wants them to be put into, that's what they have the willingness to be put into. It's not a matter of gender. It's a matter of spiritual advancement. That Krishna is himself giving us the opportunity by the development of this knowledge and the chanting that creates this association with Krishna himself every time we say his glorious name, Krishna. We instill in that the feelings we have toward him. And as we come to know him more and more and more, and the qualities of his personality and the care he has for us individually as the most fallen, to come himself to this most fallen place at this most fallen time. 1486, Kali Yuga is still here. Yet he chose to come to give support to us, give the means, the highest means that he has ever given in any history of any of the incarnations we have history of. With the exception of those profound souls like Prahlad Maharaj or Dhruva Maharaj, whose very planet will not be destroyed when Lord Shiva destroys the rest of the universe. Who is dear to Krishna is dear to Lord Shiva. And so, it is a question in my mind why there are not more of us taking part in this process of experiencing the highest consciousness available to the human form. That God himself is saying it is, and is giving understanding of the mood to sing these sacred names well. And by developing that mood as well, it enables us to interact with the other members of our societies in such a way that they will be overwhelmed by the love that pours from your heart. Because that is what surrender to Krishna is. It is an expression of your love. And then so is following the instructions of Krishna, an expression of your love for Krishna. That's what real love is. Your love for God is what is real love. We have love for others in this world, our parents, rightly so. We are indebted to so many people in this world.
Yes.
But ultimately, our aim of the most magnificent, who is the source of all, of every experience we've ever had, that is the one we should put as the one most important to serve and take the advice from. Harinam, 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 Eva, Eva. Glo, Nastyeva, 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 Gatiranyata. Gatiranyata, do you want to sing eternally? Is that the desire in your heart? Lord Chaitanya is saying it is all of our desires to return to what we came from and to be able to sing eternally and experience while we are singing that love that exists within us that is to be reciprocated with, that Krishna is saying can be reciprocated with in the highest way by singing with a joyful heart to Him, His name. When I was a boy, you know, when you went to your friend's house, you didn't knock on the door, you didn't use the doorbell. Jimmy, Gary. That's what we do. We go up to his house and just yell his name.
Yes.
And then all the neighbors would know the kids are getting ready to play basketball and baseball and something. But see, we do that with Krishna. And we reveal by that statement. See, when we talk to one another, somebody calls us by name, of course, they just want to talk or whatever. They need us for something. But when you speak Krishna's name, you're revealing to Krishna what you are feeling about him while you are speaking that name. And he is very sensitive to that. That's why he is encouraging us to develop this attitude that breaks the barriers that the false ego is, that keeps us from experiencing that Vaikuntha atmosphere where there is no anxiety, where we're not troubled by thoughts, reminding us of our past involvement with the material energy, bringing us to thoughts of karma and all these reactions we should be getting. But we can keep our minds solidly fixed on Krishna. The service he has given us, enabled us. He's enabling us at every moment. The energy we have, it's his energy when we are engaged in his service. So what we are using now is not the material energy. It is the eternal. And that's what he's calling us to be able to experience singing for that time that he's saying will be the most joyful, will produce the most happiness. And so what he is calling us to do in the singing outside to those who have not heard the singing is to experience what it's like to give this gift of Krishna's association to others. Christians call it being reborn. And they have a prayer. They pray to be forgiven and develop this consciousness in your mind that you're sorrowful for all the things you've committed wrong. But not knowing that simply the recitation of Krishna's name even once cleanses the soul of all these sinful activities. So what to speak the constant, which he's calling us to do, to experience the freedom of the constant chanting. And maybe you're in an environment that doesn't allow you to do that. You're at work, you're shopping, whatever. But your mind, once the mind finds its freedom from taking part in chanting by the deliverance, the soul has the ability to correct the minds. Then it's in the surrendered situation that it is when a devotee is chanting, it gains the ability to experience this sublime ecstasy of what love is, of what pure love is, that God is wanting us to experience to keep us with him, to keep us in his movement, to keep us encouraged to perform these simple acts that we would otherwise be doing with the thought of pleasing ourselves. And yet, by seeking to please the Supreme Most Person, then everybody else becomes satisfied, including all the 33 million demigods who are responsible for giving us the ability to use the energy that we do use, whether we're using material or spiritual energy. It is there by the endeavors of other living entities than us. It was here when we came here, it'll be here when we leave. And to a great extent, those living entities that were responsible for the entirety of the universe and the environmental circumstances, some of them will still be there after we leave. Even though they were here when we were born, they were here before we were born. And that is revelation of the fact that there are eternal living entities within the universe also, every soul, but those realized of being eternal. And that's the difference. We are all eternal, but what good is being eternal if we think we're temporary? See? And that's the mindset of everybody. They're living to pursue temporary activities that will provide for them temporary satisfaction, that in the end will provide no satisfaction whatsoever for meeting what we call death. As compared to and in contrast to a living entity who engages themselves in the spiritual energy, which when immersed in the spiritual energy, the same nature the soul is, it finds itself automatically in oneness with God. It's not that they become God. They're serving the same purpose, and that purpose is eternal. Truth is eternal. The nature of truth is an eternal force, and the promotion of which is eternal energy, and it's coming from the original eternal person, Krishna. So that's how we are fed, as the substance that we are, Satchidananda, the soul is. Knowledge of it, which we call self-realization, brings the experience that we're longing for to know what love is in its purest state. The soul is made of it. Satchidananda is that substance of Krishna's body from which all love comes. And the development of the attraction to that form of Krishna, that original form that is manifesting that in its pureness, that's the experience Lord Chaitanya is wanting all of us who are taking part in this chanting to be able to experience. That's why his most intimate associates reveal the various levels we can attain to in this experience of love with Krishna by this chanting. And it's enumerated, and we can find ourselves there. Chaitanya Bhagavat. Read Chaitanya Bhagavat and you will find yourself and the measure of love that you have developed to this point, you will find enumerated there. And that will enable you, by knowing where you are, to know what you have to do to take the next step to get further. And the answer of all of our problems is actually this chanting. But when we get specific with needs in our own personal lives, the development of those qualities that we want to perfect, humility, meekness, kindness, gentleness, mercy, these kinds of qualities in perfection in Lord Chaitanya. By the simple act of engaging and interacting with other devotees in the process of engaging, automatically develops those aspects of our character that would normally be used as a means to attract in other people to ourselves. For example, if we were involved in the business of sales, people who are involved in sales, they decorate the body to make themselves attractive to other people. The more attractive ones get more customers brought to them, and then they get the ability to persuade people. And that ability then becomes developed in their personality and recognized by those that they work with as a great quality that brings them wealth. By the manipulation of the material energy in this world, according to the proper regulations set forth, you will gain wealth in this world. If those are your desires, there are prescribed in the Vedas methods for obtaining the greatest wealth possible in this life. But if you, in fact, are aiming towards wanting to know the eternal, it has nothing to do with the material energy. They are two separate forces, sometimes appearing to be identical by the activities engaged in by the human beings that are engaging in those activities, but do not confound yourself, O devotee, who is involved and engaged in the divine spiritual activities ascribed, prescribed, given as a gift to by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the devotees of the Supreme Lord, that these seeming menial activities, rolling dough, frying food, cooking food, sweeping floors, washing walls, seemingly mundane. Yet Krishna himself, Gundicha temple, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, we see that he is himself exalting these very activities that as human beings we look at as the most mundane, the lowest. We don't want to clean things up. That's for the lower class. But Lord Chaitanya comes in, and then after everybody is cleaned, he goes through and shows more cleaning that needs to be done than what they had all done.
Huge pile.
Yeah.
Huge pile of dust.
Yeah, huge pile. That's Krishna's mercy to reveal to us how he sees in our heart of hearts our intentions and why we want to do what we're doing. Do we want a reward for doing it? Or are we doing it because we love Krishna? We see what Lord Chaitanya has done for us and what he's wanting to give to the entire population of the world. This glorious chanting his holy names that removes us from all anxiety, gives us an experience of love, experience of wholesome faith in the future that God himself has a plan for mankind far above and beyond that which we put even in our imaginations. It is the creating of this heavenly atmosphere by the consciousness of the devotees engaged in loving devotional service. As Krishna advises everyone who reads this glorious Bhagavad Gita, this song of the Supreme Person will gain a divine knowledge of how Krishna sees all the acts of human beings and then how he puts them into levels. And then by that we can judge what result our own activities will bring if we stay on that path. And with Krishna consciousness we see that we gain abilities beyond that which is recognized by quote-unquote normal human beings. to carry out the functions Krishna gives us in his service. When you become Krishna conscious and people start recognizing you as one close to God, and they start asking you to pray for them. Right? And that every day almost, will you pray for my brother? Will you pray for this person? Will you pray for them? Here is something to remember. Because while we're engaging in chanting Krishna's name, not only is it the most powerful act, it is in and of itself providing that to us by the presence of Krishna. Everything we could want to ask for in a prayer. Just like if you look at the touchstone, right? So for people who are looking as their goal of life as being the accumulation of wealth, this touchstone would be, wow, everything, right? Well, I'll be providing with forever. But see, Krishna, if we look upon who Krishna is and realize what the chanting of his name is giving us the experience of and the ability to experience, we put that in our consciousness. This is a great privilege we have, that Krishna is himself inviting us not only to his home after we leave these bodies, but for right now to know the value of the presence of the Supreme Person and making that available to us at every moment of our lives by simply the chanting of these holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. What a freeing experience the soul is meant to experience by these holy names that Krishna has empowered with the ability to do that. Yeah. How fortunate we are. I don't know how to put it any other way. And Krishna is giving us the ability to give this greatest of fortunes to everyone we come in contact with. Why? Because it only takes a moment. In fact, if this is the only desire in your heart, is to give Krishna's names, that makes you a pure devotee. That means 1/64th of a second of your presence to someone you want to give Krishna to will enable them to be effective even by you just coming in contact with them. See, Krishna, when we think, oh, the elevated soul is always somebody else who's more elevated than I am. But as you develop that mentality in your mind, Krishna exalts you as the devotee in the presence of those who have no knowledge of him whatsoever. Then even though we may be those bamboo trees, right, amongst ourselves as greatest elevated devotees, great sequoias and elevated trees, but even so amongst the non-believers, even a great tall standing bamboo can give revelation of the freedom to be found in the chanting of these holy names. It's what the soul is longing for in all their endeavors. They want to be free. They want to experience life. They want to know what love is. They want to know what beauty is. They want to know what strength is. They want to know what fame is. They want to know what now. All these things in Krishna's personality is to be found in perfection. And through the study of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, through the study of 10th canto of Krishna book, we get a glimpse of that. And by getting that glimpse as well, we're experiencing in our mind that consciousness that pleases Krishna, the super soul who is sharing this body with us because it is that relationship with him. Krishna's in that Vaikuntha realm on every single one of his Vaikuntha planets out there. And he's in Krishna Loka in that divine spiritual form. But he brings and comes with us in the material realm in this form called Paramatma. He's the one that's answering our prayers. And when we pray for others, Guru told me, when you're asking for something for yourself, Krishna not even listening to that. It's when you're praying for others that you are revealing love.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves themselves, right? Everybody wants good for themselves. Me, mine. This is all still false ego. And it doesn't mix with spirituality. See, so that brings me to the realization of the truth of Jagaguru's realization. How much we do, we pray for ourselves for the benefit that we want for ourselves in my life. But how about the realization that if we simply have Krishna, if we are simply in Krishna's presence, what Śrīla Prabhupāda said, don't pray that you can see Krishna. Pray that Krishna will see you. Yeah. But see, I will add to that, not only that, but that he can look upon you favorably.
Yeah.
I chant in the morning next to Śrīla Prabhupada. I try to move a little bit behind Śrīla Prabhupada. And then when I look and I see, we've put Lord Chaitanya in the backmost place like the Mayavadis do, you know. When he comes, Lord Chaitanya takes his seat in the very back of the Mayavadis temple, where the shoes are put. So we put where the seats are put, we put Lord Chaitanya there. But looking up at Lord Chaitanya, I'm realizing that's where Lord Chaitanya can see me as I'm chanting. So this is where it should be, right?
Yes, sir.
So we should have that mentality as well when we approach Krishna, that we're not approaching for our sake. We're approaching, Krishna's asking us to come. And this is a form of obedience that gives great pleasure. If devotees could know how much pleasure they're giving to Krishna, then they would be happy. And that's what happens in the temple when you're cooking. You're cooking for maybe 50, 100 people, maybe 10 people, maybe 5, maybe the deities on the temple. But it becomes such a fulfilling experience because you're doing something that is a benefit to the soul. That every pursuit we've made in the material energy has been the pursuit to try and satisfy what the soul itself is actually looking for in all these aspects of Krishna's own personality that we look for in the material world. And so when it comes to the understanding of what is doing is the fulfillment of that pursuit, the experience that it has been longing for, all of its pursuit in the material energy. Now the happiness comes, the gratitude, the satisfaction. Now your hunger is gone. Not hungry anymore. This is like right now, breaking a goddess, you know. We could break it, I think it was at 6 o'clock even today. But it goes all the way up till 10 or 11.
5:50 to 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so I don't feel hungry, you know. And next Ekadasi is Nirjal. I was just expressing how important, see, even devotees. I was talking with devotees yesterday who've been taking part in Krishna consciousness movement more than 10 years, I'm sure. And yet they didn't know the value of keeping Ekadasi and told me that breaking is regular. See, the value of knowing, the value of knowledge keeps us from the things that do us harm. So that's how valuable knowledge is. That's why the cultures that were established by Krishna, giving value to the knowledge contained in the Vedas, brings the level of appreciation for life up in those who have developed knowledge of the Vedas. Because that is the real wealth of society, is that part of society that has the ability to liberate those souls who are bound by the material energy of the society. Society is all geared around the manipulation of the material energy. Devotional service is all geared around developing love for God. And automatically, the manipulation, getting enough potatoes to cook for getting the pots, getting this thing. It's automatically provided by the requirement needed for the offering itself. And this is all Krishna's energy. And so the cook doesn't have to not supposed to have to take thought for these things. But in the kitchen where people are volunteering once a week, one day a week, or a couple hours a week, these things are not taken into consideration, and we have every day somebody taking part in the activity different from the day before. Then there's not enough unity to know what everybody else is doing. We have to work together, and we'll be more effective. Now, I shouldn't say we have to, because the individuals working alone in their own homes, making a nice environment for their children to be raised in Krishna consciousness, that can develop the pure love of God. But how many people will be reached? And that is what the aim of Śrīla Prabhupāda was in bringing this movement to the Western world, and to reveal the value of the process. He said, if one soul becomes a pure devotee, it was all worth it. One soul to become a pure devotee. Just see, what does that mean? What is a pure devotee? And we have the example of Śrīla Prabhupāda to see what it does. Now by his life, thousands, if not more than 1 million people. The effects still by his books, by his purports, years after he has left, 1977, 50 plus years ago, still having an effect on individuals who read his purports and then realize this is absolute truth, and take it to heart and transform their whole lives. Śrīla Prabhupāda, by Krishna's mercy, is still getting benefit for that. And every one of his disciples, taking disciples, is making this move, as Krishna says in his ISKCON. This devotional energy of Krishna that he is empowering his Maha Mantra with is expanding. And every day expanding more than the day before. There's an old song in pop culture when I was growing up describing the love that someone has for the person that they love. And it's described by him saying, like a snowball rolling down the side of a snow-covered hill, it's growing. And he was describing how love, once it starts, the same way a snowball, if the hill is covered with snow, not only is it getting bigger, but it's getting bigger at a rate that they call exponential. So the fact that it is growing increases the amount that it's growing by. So we are eventually going to see, probably more rapidly than we believe possible, the creating of this earth, Mother Bhumi, the dressing of her body to make this planet a heavenly planet. When that happens, the earth will be filled, as is described in Bhagavatam, those airs that are filling the lungs of those who breathe in Ayodhya, the sacred cities of Krishna, and breathe in that life-giving substance air, that because these things are all grown for the pleasure of Krishna, they touch the soul. And that's what's not being touched in modern society. By only knowing the manipulation of the material energy, they create more longing for that which can only be satisfied by the experience the soul proper has with that spiritual energy that the soul is. what is being offered by this glorious ISKCON movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that offers books, the reading of which will bring liberation to those glorious souls, free enough in their minds to break the shackles of societal bondage, and read and study those futuristic teachings of the Supreme Person who wants to restore all of mankind to its original glory, which Mother Earth is waiting for the sons and daughters of God to manifest fully with love of God, so that all mankind, all of humanity at large, can know what love is. That is going to be brought about by the chanting of these holy names with all of our hearts every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram. Any comments, any questions, any realizations anybody like to share?
Very good to hear about soul. And that, I like that story of rolling up snowball.
It's a mundane comparison, but see, just like Krishna consciousness does, it takes that from the mundane world and transforms it into spiritual energy. We do that with everything that's grown out of the earth that we use. We do that with the words written on a material book, transformed into spiritual love inside the hearts of those who take these spiritual words to feed the soul that we are, so that we can know the truth.
Yes.
And that absolute takes over our lives, and then will guide us to open doors that we don't even know are openable. And then give us the ability to walk into the door and experience eternity, and the meaning of love, and the future vision of society, and what society could be and should be, by the application of all the spiritual teachings of the world. When everybody follows God, everything will fall in line, and everyone will live in peace and harmony and pure love. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda